welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage to voice your opinions and thoughts. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry that matters to you. Today on the show on Direct Connect, a panel of experts will answer your questions. Later on the show, we will feature Taleho on our Small Giant segment. On Direct Connect tonight, T.R. Bajalia, the former DMD of SIDBI, as well as Manish Bansal, the CEO of SME Value Advisors, are answering your questions and queries. Manish, Mr. Bajalia, thank you all very much, gentlemen, for being with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow tonight. It's a brand new season and we couldn't be more excited to kick off all the questions that we're getting in. Our first query is coming to us from Puneet Chaudhary. Puneet?
My question is to the panel expert on infrastructure. The question is, as we all are aware that SMEs contribute 40% of the India's GDP, of which roughly 10% is the contribution from manufacturing sector, which is abysmally low as compared to the service sector, which is 30%. So, analyzing what causes this, I think SMEs struggle on couple of parameters like say credit, infrastructure, marketing, labor and taxation. So, my question is, what is it that the infrastructure businesses can do to partner this change for growth of SMEs?
All right, Puneet, thanks very much for that question. Gentlemen, what would you have to suggest to someone who's saying that clearly this space, the MSME space, needs much more than what it's getting right now?
Actually, now everybody has realized it is not only in India, it is world over that SMEs are considered to be the backbone of the economy, and India is no exception. When SMEs, they are contributing to almost more than 40% of your manufacturing production, near about 40% of the exports. So, it is one of a very, very major factor for the economy, and this is the segment which is growing consistently. So, thinking about the future, SME is going to be a major sector in the economy which is going to strengthen the economy. And considering this imperatives, I think government has taken various steps, and SMEs are taken as a front leader for running the economy, and they are doing quite well. We have seen that last 2 or 3 years, due to the overall economy situation, there has been slightly stress in the sector, but despite that, we see that our exports continue to grow. Our production, manufacturing production is also growing, and service sector, which is the main contributor to the our GDP, is quite well. It is showing a good positive signs. Okay. So, SME is a very, very important segment. And coming to this question, the recent study IFC, I can see that study that shows that SME, they face a lot of problems. Finance is always a major problem, marketing, technology, manpower, then skill development of the manpower. These are the major issues, and they continue to face these problems. And I think finance, again, government has taken various steps, the Reserve Bank has taken various steps, all the banks, they have taken various steps to strengthen this side and to ensure that all the viable unit, they get the finance. So, things are happening.
Things are changing, and you're saying that it's also a reflection of what is happening in the economy.
Yeah.
Manish.
Yeah. So, Sunanda, what I see in the question of Puneet is that he's asking the solution to the challenges which typically SMEs face in terms of credit, in terms of infrastructure, marketing, taxation. My only point to him would be to learn from what Akbar did. You know, if I think about it, it's all about people. Akbar understood a couple of things, which are, you know, he does not know everything. Second, he understood that people know better than him on various fronts. And third, what he did, he got the people together and leveraged upon their competence in the desired manner. So what I see as a major challenge among the SMEs is that the promoters do not let go. Promoters do not really build the relevant team which can bring in the required resources. So you may be lacking resources, but you have to be good at the resourcefulness at that point in time, and that can only happen when you build the relevant team around. So my answer to Puneet would be to figure out people who can help you on all these fronts. And there are people today, when I see around, they are ready to work for cash, which essentially is the remuneration in cash or in kind. So Puneet can leverage on people's competence, rolling them up, or enrolling them in his vision, by offering either equity or some kinds of remuneration, either linked to the success fee, etc. These are the ways to think in which the Puneet should be going.
Okay, Puneet, that's in response to your question. In fact, speaking of talent and manpower, that's our next question is coming to us from Parimal Sheth. Go ahead, Parimal.
Automation and digitization has taken a leap forward in India, and every company, every large groups are started adopting to this digitization and automation move. How we as SMEs, MSMEs are going to cope up with such a situation in India, and whether it is going to replace human capital in a big way. So where do we stand in this scenario?
That's a very relevant question. Will digitization and technology replace the need for human capital? And we're already seeing that happening a lot with your large IT companies like an Infosys, which is saying we're bringing down the number of people and the linear growth that they're talking about. For an MSME, what would you suggest?
This digitalization in SMEs, when we talk about that, we see that the recent E&Y, that some study is there, they have said that only 2% of the people of SME units, they are totally digitalized. Okay. Balanced 98%, out of that almost 68% are offline. Another 15% they are enabled who can do that, and another 15% are connected who have internet and all those things. So if we take the overall view, I think we lag behind about digitalization when we talk about this. And the study shows that when you go for digitalization, your income, your revenue increase by another 20-25%, your profit increases more than 25%, and the manpower requirement goes beyond, maybe sometime it is almost a double. So going for this higher technology and this thing does not mean that your manpower is going to be reduced. Okay. It is in fact going to be strengthened.
Okay, so and even if it does happen, it's a very long sort of a time frame.
Yes.
That we're looking at.
So my take on this question is a bit different than that. The question he's saying is whether the automation and digitization would create a challenge at the human capital, and I would ask a question: Is digitization, automation a choice or a necessity today? If you ask me, it's a necessity.
It's definitely a necessity.
Yeah, from the perspective of creating cost competitiveness, from the perspective of engaging with the stakeholders, creating an experience for the customers, maintaining your qualities, of the products. So if you look at the overall stuff, it's a necessity. Now, when in the world we are talking about driverless car, essentially even a skill is being replaced by the technology. You and me have to appreciate the way the world is going, the robots, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, etc. Sunanda, would drive the world. The world will not look the same. Every stuff or every job which is a regular job will get replaced by the technology sooner or later. In this environment, we have to ask a question: how do we stay relevant? So what is important is, to my mind, that we upskill the people, we reskill them, figure out how they can leverage upon their existing competence or build on the new competence and create the value in the time to come. Otherwise, it is going to be a challenge for the people for sure.
Okay, so both of you are essentially saying that yes, it's a necessity going digital, but it's not going to replace manpower. There are going to be higher-end jobs that are going to come along.
That's right.
All right.
Yes.
Parimal, that's in response to your question. Thanks very much for giving us that question. Our next one is coming to us from Suruchi Biani. Suruchi has written in to us on Facebook, and you can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow and ET Now. That's our Facebook page. Suruchi says they're a small manufacturer of industrial textiles and that they've been exporting to some countries in Africa and the Indian subcontinent. She says they operate on extremely thin margins, but banks are levying unnecessarily high charges at every step when it comes to the payment realization, especially in the case of an LC issued in our favor. The bank cuts charges on practically every step, and these charges are ranging for anywhere from between $30 to $100. What can be done? That's a lot for an MSME. What would you have to say to her, sir?
Actually, the problem, whatever she is saying, it is there, but I feel that when they go for availing this type of facilities, LC facility, working capital, any other facility, they have to negotiate their rates. Banks, when they sanction, they fix the LC rate again, that this will be the commission of LC. If it is a delay, then these will the charges which will be levied. Working capital, these are the charges. So, I think at the time of sanction, they have to negotiate well, and once the charges are fixed for 1 year, these will continue.
Okay. So, it's just a question of how you're
Yes.
able to negotiate and fix it.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would essentially add to what Sir said, understand the charges clearly and take them as part of the costing and accordingly price the customer. If you're not happy with the banker, look for the other banker. There is nothing else actually to do here. Strategy has to go by that.
Okay. And do you think that MSMEs are in a position where they're able to negotiate effectively?
Of
or, are banks sort of sympathetic then?
Of course, they, because they are giving a lot of business to the banks, and LC is a non-fund based facility where the banks are a lot of commission on that, and there are AAA rated companies, big companies where they are paying hardly anything, 0.1% these charges, and these SMEs they are paying more than 1%. So, a lot of gap is there. So, if their business is good, there are no defaults on those accounts, perhaps they can ask for a better charge, and banks definitely will consider that case.
Okay. So, Ruchi, thanks for that question. So, that's essentially about how you're really negotiating it with your bank. Time for one quick last question before we end the segment. This is also coming to us on Facebook. Pranali Jain has written in to say they're a specialty and super specialty chemical manufacturing company. Products of theirs are mainly used as raw material by fragrance and flavor industry. She says almost 99% of their revenue comes from export. The problem, however, she says, is that some of their employees, or rather all of their employees, get access to the entire production process developed by them, and that the employees are responsible for looking for buyers for their IP. Once these employees find an interested party, she says they leave them, take up a job with the buyer, and therefore transfer the technology, and they end up losing out in the bargain. That's a very unfortunate situation to be in.
Yes.
What would you gentlemen recommend?
Yes, I think it is a big challenge, and this is happening in a lot of industries. And here the question is maybe IPR. I feel that if they get it registered, their these rights, intellectual property rights, and their technology and all those parameters, if they get it registered, perhaps I think then these people will find it difficult to do that.
In one of our previous shows, in fact, when we were talking about the auto industry, and someone had a very similar question saying, our employees get access to our IP and then they take it to our competitors. I remember the suggestion was, don't open up the entire IP process to all of your employees. Have a few employees who can, view only certain things. Would that help?
Yeah, so sure. See, what happens, Sunanda, there are three things which I think the companies like it should do. First is the internal control processes. I have experienced that part with some of the companies working as a consultant, that the entire formulation part or the technology part is only accessible to few people. There are files which are non-copyable. The room in which the computer is lying, only few people have access to, right? And sometimes they put the processes in two different files in the two different computers. So even if one employee has access to one computer, he can't have the entire process, being with him or her. So there are ways to put the internal controls in place and handle the situation. Second part is, I think, education to the employees. It's very important to communicate what ethics means. Because if everyone starts doing this kind of practice, it will not work, right? So we have to communicate to the employees on consistent basis. Look, it's not ethical to it's amount to the theft, if you ask me. So that part is important. And third, as Sir said, legal courses, in terms of patents for the products or the processes, probably will help in the long run.
Sure. All right, Manish, Mr. Bajalia, thank you both very much for being with us here tonight. Time for a break. When we come back, we'll feature the story of Taleho. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on our Small Giant segment, we're bringing you the story of Taleho. Renting a flat in Mumbai can be a nightmare if not done right. Identifying this challenge and working on ensuring easy and transparent rentals is Mumbai-based Taleho. Shubhangi Sinha caught up with the founders to bring you insights on how innovation in an antiquated industry can in fact disrupt it. Do take a look.
Finding a house with proper amenities could be the biggest challenge that mankind faces in the quest of fulfilling the Roti Kapda Makan theory. Trying to steer Mumbai away from its reigning shoebox apartment regime is the company Taliho. Presently being incubated at Thincubate, a community-based startup incubator, Taliho is rapidly changing the ancient method of house hunting with the benefit of a year-long warranty on the property.
Akash, we've all seen times where trying to find a flat in Mumbai is a complete nightmare. So what was the inspiration really behind starting Taleho, and what was the gap that you were trying to bridge?
Basically, we've been 4 of us that came together. We've been from this sector for the last 15 years collectively, all of us. So we knew we had a very unique perspective into the whole problems that that buyers face in this market, tenants face in this market, and also because of our experience, we could see that we knew the way where we could essentially solve this big problem that the market faces.
Right, so in this bid, I understand that you're able to offer a property warranty to your consumers. What is that warranty really about, and what does it cover for the person who's going out and renting the flat?
Sure. So the whole idea is when you're a tenant, right, and when you move into an apartment, you don't necessarily have that safety of when you've moved into an apartment and things start not looking the way they were in a photo or a video. You don't have the right kind of person to contact to every single time. That's where our warranty comes into the picture. What we do is, as a tenant, when you've moved into an apartment, we give you a maintenance warranty wherein for the first 5,000, let's say, of rupees of whatever issues come into your apartment, we cover them. Also on and onwards for a year or till when you're into that apartment, we help you get all of your maintenance issues sorted through a very dedicated and trained professional. The contractors that come into the property are all vetted by Taleho, and all of this process happens through a very seamless technology-oriented approach.
Sure, which means that the tenant is definitely covered, but what do you really think is the proposition that Taleho has for the landlords, and how benefited are they in this entire process?
As a landlord, I would, the way I would speak to you is, you've got your property that you want to put on rent. So you should only be looking at that aspect of it, right? Wherein you've got a house that you've purchased and you want to earn some income off of it. So our services essentially help you get monthly income in your bank account in a timely manner, in a very easy manner. So you just end up getting money month on month. What we also do is, in this process, you as a landlord should be getting real-time updates on what's happening in your property, right? So that's where our technology comes into the picture. As a landlord, you get real-time updates on who's in your house, how many complaints are being put for your property every month, what charges are being going through those on those complaints, what is the return on investment that you're making every month, and essentially the yield of the property month on month or year on year. So that way you have a complete sense of how much you're making off of your rental property.
While that definitely sounds interesting, Akash, we really cannot deny the fact that there are landlords who are looking at specific things in their tenants, whether it is their food habits or their religious beliefs, or even for that matter, whether or not they are married. Are you really able to overcome a challenge like this with a platform like Taleho, or do you think that this is a problem which requires a larger solution perhaps?
This is a problem which can only be truly solved, if this entire industry and the government comes together, and not just put in things on paper, but actually show the intent to be able to solve things. Right? I'll give you one example. So if you were to rent an apartment here in Mumbai, we've spoken to scores of landlords over the last year, and as a landlord, we've seen that there's not enough intent from the landlord to stop people or bachelors or individual single females to rent an apartment, but it actually comes in as a pressure from the society. I feel things are changing. And I think, you know, at some point collectively, all of us are going to get together and solve this big problem.
Right, and with your platform, Akash, you're being able to eliminate the middleman or the broker. And a broker has been a very, very important part of the real estate industry since we know it. So how does your property assistant really replace him, or what is the advantage that he's able to offer to your consumers?
The brokers essentially have been in this market and have been charging a significant amount of money for services that don't necessarily deserve that kind of money going in. Right, so what we've been able to do with our property assistant is get something which has been missing in this whole real estate sector, which is customer service, responsibility and liability on the person who's facilitating this entire transaction for you. Right, so that's our property assistant. He does what essentially an ideal broker should have done in the space and doesn't charge you money for that.
Right, so you're being incubated at Thincubate at this point in time. And do you really think that it is important for MSMEs and startups to get this kind of a guidance, and how important do you think incubation really is?
I think it's really important, right? For as a company that's starting up young, you know what you want to do with your product, right? But there are so many things. You're not just essentially building a product, you're building a business. So there are so many other angles of it when you're setting up a company for the first time that you don't know about. Also, when these things start coming in, you don't essentially want to be spending too much of your time into figuring things out, and that's what incubation has done for us. You know, it's not just given us a whole, you know, it's given us a very solid platform to handle everything from compliance to taxation to every other issues that, you know, young companies generally tend to skip. Documentations have become very strong.
So I understand that you must have gotten a lot of guidance from Thincubate, but there must have been some challenges that you've had to overcome along the way. What, according to you, would be the biggest challenge that you've overcome?
I would say the biggest challenge has been, so this is a very old and archaic industry, right? It's real estate has been there for hundreds of years, and for us to get in that change incrementally, you know, not just in terms of processes and the way people operate, and also the way people look forward to technology in this sector, has been the biggest challenge. Okay, getting tenants and landlords, for that matter, change the look at things in a different way. And accept that in their processes and ways of working has been the biggest challenge as of now.
Now, this space of online real estate is getting crowded by the minute. What do you really think is the one differentiator or one USP that Taliho has that nobody else does?
Let me start off by saying that the fact that so many people are coming into the space speaks for the value of the space itself. Also, yes, there are a lot of people coming into the space and trying different things. For Taleho, what we feel essentially is we have placed ourselves in a very niche sector, right? So we are not a classified, we are not what these other platforms do in terms of listing things online and just leaving you at there. So we are a pure service-based platform wherein we don't just leave you at looking at a property and finding a house. We actually help you in transacting and making that house a home for yourself. Right? So we are a complete end-to-end solution for both the tenants and the landlords.
A beacon of help for a hunt of a different kind, and one that is harder than most, Taleho is able to ensure that its customers are indeed able to say Taliho to their dream homes.
Completely out of time on this episode of The Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything that you want to say to us, or you're interested in participating here on The Leaders of Tomorrow, do write in at leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can also reach us on Facebook on Leaders of Tomorrow on ET now, or call us on that number you see on your screen. We love hearing from you and promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.